this is Casey from the Covington branch of Kenton County Public Library here in the Local History and Genealogy Department. We're continuing our Adventures in the Archives series today, featuring the St. James African Methodist Episcopal Church collection in honor of Black History Month, with this being the 1st of February today. In September of 2019, we actually acquired this collection. The church reached out to the department to see if we could possibly take a lot of their records pertaining to the church history itself, as they were going to be putting their building under construction due to some structural damage. So we're happy to have that collection in our possession and process it, make sure that we have everything boxed up in archival boxes and placed into our archive, which is climate controlled, so a lot of this history can be preserved and not lost for future generations. So just to give a little bit of background about the church itself, I'm going to read a little bit of an entry here from the Kentucky African American Encyclopedia. It's a really great resource we have here in the department. Features a lot of prominent people in the state of Kentucky, and also here in Northern Kentucky as well. So, St. James African Methodist Episcopal Church of Covington began in 1869, only a few years after the Civil War ended. The church was started by Martha Ann Taylor, who was a devoted Christian woman in the Covington area, who for years she sort of conducted numerous church services out of her home, Bible studies, prayer groups. So she is very well known in the area for her services there. There was a growth in church membership, so she eventually moved the congregation to a newly built schoolhouse located in the Austinburg neighborhood of Covington. And then several years later, the congregation moved once again to a building in Covington on Maryland Ave near Oliver Street, I believe, and then later to a building on 9th Street between Greenup and Prospect Street. Later on, the congregation moved once again as they continued to grow to the corner of 7th and Madison, and then also to the Department of Domestic Sciences at Lincoln Grand School, which is very close to us here at the Covington branch. And then finally in 1922, under the leadership of Reverend J.A.G. Grant, the congregation developed a plan to conduct a permanent structure at 120 Lynn Street, which is where the building still stands today, where we collected all of the material from the church itself. Under Grant's direction, a lot of donations and pledges came through the building, and they were able to use that to continue construction on the building, as once again the church grew and grew with new members. Grant also gained the support of Bishop A.J. Carey, who appealed to the A.M.E. church members throughout Kentucky and Tennessee as well, and gained some more money for funds for the congregation building. The first phase of the building program during this time, which included a larger sanctuary and several meeting rooms, was completed in late 1922. And then after Grant's departure, each subsequent pastor contributed substantially to the growing congregation of the church as well, and to what it would be today at 120 Lynn Street. So that's just a little bit of background on the church itself, and I will sort of quickly go over some of the items that can be found in the collection. This is definitely not everything that we collected from them. We still have a lot of larger frame photographs of prominent people in the community that went to the church. We have a lot of blueprints of the building itself. I know some of the church members actually came back to the department and used some of those blueprints as they were doing construction on the building, so it's really good to have those here so they can also refer back to them as well. So to start, this is a photograph, and I will kind of come around here and hopefully get you a better image of it. The gentleman right here is James Randolph, Dr. James Randolph, who was a prominent African-American doctor in the area. He's actually buried at Mary E. Smith. If you saw our cemetery video a couple months back, I featured him as well in that video, so you'll know that he was very well known in the area, very active in the community, and was a really big asset to the African American community and sort of bolstering healthcare in that area as well. So he was definitely well known in the church in Covington too. And again, another well known African American from the church, Annie Hargraves. If you're familiar with the Covington area, you probably know Annie Hargraves Park. This is the lady that it was named after. She was actually a teacher at Lincoln Grand School, which I mentioned before. And she was also superintendent of the St. James A.M.E. Church as well for many, many years. She was also director of the park that she is named after for 35 years. And during that time, they really were into organizing softball, basketball games, checker tournaments, a lot of things to sort of bring the community together. So again, a really well-known person within that community as well. And now to sort of talk a little bit about sort of genealogy resources, really, that you can find in archival collections. I always try to point out, not just stuff that's interesting in these collections, but things that also have a lot of research value for people that want to come in and do genealogy as well. So this is a baptism record, 1944 to 1948, and of course, if you've done any genealogy whatsoever, you know what a great resource baptism records are. So again, all the stuff that you'd usually find in a church baptism record, children's names, parents' names. Looks like there might be some addresses as well. So again, a really great resource to go through if you know of a family member that maybe attended this church and trying to get more genealogy information on them. And likewise, we have a church membership listing, so a lot of names, a lot of addresses as well. This is a little bit beat up, but it's still readable, so I'm really glad to have this here safely in the department so it doesn't get damaged further. And then lastly, as far as genealogy stuff goes, we have the community census cards. So these are a little bit different from, I'll pull it up here too, a little bit different from the regular census record. These community census cards, I believe, went out continually throughout the year. So not a whole lot of new or different information from a census record, but they do have addresses, names, what church they attended, obviously St. James, so something a little bit different that you might not know about as far as genealogy resources go. Let's see. One of the last images I wanted to show, this is from the St. James mortgage burning ceremony. I'll have to show, hopefully I'll get this in frame a little bit. But right here, again, there's Dr. Randolph. And something that I didn't know about, I wasn't familiar with that phrase, mortgage burning. A lot of churches do this, especially in predominantly African American churches. Basically, when their debts are paid off, when the congregation's building is paid off finally, a lot of churches will have a burning of their mortgage as a way to show sort of ownership of the building with everyone in that congregation. So again, something I was not familiar with but learned about through this collection. So again, this is really just sort of sampling of what is in the collection here, St. James A.M.E. Church collection. Again, hopefully you've learned something new about a collection you might not be super familiar with. Again, a lot of great genealogy resources that you might not know about that you're welcome to come to the department if you know of maybe a family member that attended this church, or someone down the line that you know lived in the area that might know someone in your family from this pop up in this collection. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. We'll have a lot more coming up throughout the year. So again, I'm Casey from the King County Public Library Local History and Genealogy Department, and have a good rest of your day.